All right, what is up, everybody? Thanks for joining another Sessionwire live demo today. My name is Brendan Lyons. I work with Sessionwire. I'm also a full-time producer, engineer, and session musician. I get the pleasure of kind of giving a weekly rundown of Sessionwire along with a different DAW. And this week, we are covering Reason by Propellerhead. Now, I first caught a glimpse of Reason years ago. Also, let me know if you can hear me okay and if the sound quality is okay. In the comments, let me know where you're from. Say hi. I got a first glimpse of Reason years and years ago when I wasn't really into music quite yet. I was still kind of just, I was doing a science degree and had seen actually a screenshot of Reason, and I thought, whoa, this is really cool looking. And that is mainly the reason that I ended up downloading Reason, was because it looked cool. You could flip the rack back and forth and patch things into different places and use, modular synths and things like that, which, by the way, I still have no idea how to use, really. Still kind of getting into that. So this isn't going to be a deep dive into Reason itself. It'll be about setting up Reason alongside Sessionwire. But if you have questions, please fire away. If I can answer them in regards to Reason, I will. If I can answer them in regards to Sessionwire, I definitely will. Without further ado, here we go. We'll jump into the Sessionwire app really quick. If you haven't seen this yet, this is the Sessionwire application, kind of the centerpiece of the Sessionwire ecosystem at the moment. It allows you to connect in a peer-to-peer call with anybody in the world that has the Sessionwire app as well. It has a video stream, which comes with like a file transfer system and a screen sharing and all of that fancy stuff. It comes with a talkback audio stream, which is mono, has noise suppression and echo cancellation. You can see that my talkback meter is moving here because I've selected the correct device there. And it comes with a stereo HQ audio stream, unprocessed. So whatever you put into it comes out the other side exactly as you hear it in your studio. We have a first question. Do I have a Sessionwire? Do I have a Sessionwire for FL Studio 20? Are you asking for a video about FL Studio or a template? An article? What do you need for FL Studio? I can definitely set you up with that. One of the upcoming videos will be about FL Studio, who just happened to have fixed a bunch of issues that they had with using our plugins with one of the most recent updates. So up until about 4 weeks ago, you could not use FL Studio with Sessionwire. FL Studio, they've fixed it. ImageLine has fixed the issue. So now you can. Upcoming video on that. We do host templates on our website. We do host articles on our website, support.sessionwire.com. Go check it out. Keep an eye out for an upcoming live stream about FL Studio. Back to the app here. On the left-hand side of the app is the local video. So my video, you've got settings for the talkback stream here, which you would set up just like a Zoom call. Select a microphone that you know will get audio into the session. Select a speaker that you know you can hear the remote sides talkback audio out of. Most often, the microphone will be something like this, a webcam. So if you have one of those, just pick that as the microphone. Otherwise, if you have like a microphone like this plugged into channel 1 of your audio interface, you can select that as I have, and I've selected my audio interface as the speaker so I can hear the remote talkback audio straight out of that. FatsOSB says a video. No, there's no FL Studio video yet. I'll be doing a live stream on that coming up, so keep an eye out for that. You can go check out the templates that we host on our website, though, if you want a sneak peek at how to get set up with FL. Essentially, you can follow this a little bit. This walkthrough with Reason won't quite do it because of a couple things that I'm going to talk about coming up right away. But just put the Sessionwire Send plugin on your master fader in FL. Just do that. Then you're streaming audio to the other side of the Sessionwire call. Bringing audio in is a bit of a different issue. There's some limitations to FL Studio. It's not really a fully fledged DAW like some of these other ones are with really great routing and things like that. It's great for sequencing, great for beat making, great for producing, not great for recording live audio per se. So, which we'll get into in that video in the future. So back to Sessionwire here. On the right-hand side of the app, I have my connections list when I'm not in an active call. I have one contact right now. His name is Dan Smith, and he's right here. It's my other computer, which I will connect to and throw some audio back and forth with. You can search for somebody else here. I'll search for Robin, who is our CTO, and he's got a few test accounts in here. So there you go. You can search for connections in your existing connection list here. So Dan Smith pops up because he's the only one that I have. You can also invite somebody by email if they don't have Sessionwire yet. So you can send somebody an email straight from the app. They get the invite, they go download, install Sessionwire, and you automatically become connections once they've signed up for their account, which is pretty cool. The sprocket icon here has some settings under here. The meters, you can turn them on and off. Talkback auto mute is interesting. So if I had one of the plugins in my DAW and I hit play or record, automatically, if these are on, it's going to mute my talkback stream. And when I hit stop, it's going to unmute the talkback stream. Now with Reason, we're not going to be able to do that, and I'm going to explain that. And it has to do with Reason's inability to support any plugins other than VST and VST2, which is very outdated. So we'll dive into that again in a second. Here's a network diagnostic window. Once we're in a connection, you'll be able to see the health of the network connection between you and the other person. You'll want to be on Ethernet with Wi-Fi turned off, if possible. You're working with Pro Audio, you want a solid connection. Use Ethernet if you can. Refresh Audio I/O button. In the case that you know you have all these settings selected correctly, just hit this button and it reconnects all the drivers in the app and make sure that it's working. Apple Core Audio has a tendency to dump connections sometimes when you're opening and closing sessions or changing sample rates and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much it for the app. I'm going to call Dan Smith by clicking on his name, clicking the green phone. He's going to answer. Today, Dan. There we go. All right, we're in a call. This is what it looks like when we're in a call. There are remote meters, so if Dan were to speak, you can hear his voice and you can see his meters bouncing. He has an HQ audio stream as well coming to me, which is shown by this meter here. There are some buttons that appear when you mouse over. This is the hang up button. There are nonverbal communication images or emojis in case you don't want to break that perfect take. The session view link generator generates a URL once you're in an active call, so you can add a third or fourth or fifth person by URL. They don't have to download or sign up or do anything. They click the URL, open it in Google Chrome, and they're in the session with video, talkback audio, and they hear the host's DAW audio. Pretty cool feature. Chat feature is coming soon. Full screen and a little picture-in-picture button where you can pop out the remote video. You can't see it because it's black, but you can pop it out and float it around your screen. Pretty cool as well. There we go. That is the Sessionwire application. So if you have any questions about that so far, please put them in the comment section. This isn't just, it's a live stream. It's going to live on the internet forever. So if you have questions and you want them to hang around on the internet, send them in. Happy to answer. Anything to do with Reason or Sessionwire or even FL, if I can answer it without actually having to open FL in this video, that'd be great. We're going to jump into Reason now. So here is a Reason session. This is just a demo session that comes with Reason so that, we can use it and, not get taken down by the YouTube gremlins. This session here is quite complex. There's a lot going on in it. I am not going to dive into how everything is set up with this session, any kind of routing with regards to this session. I'm just going to cut to the chase about setting up so that we can stream audio out of Reason and then back into Reason. Dayton says, where is the download? Which download are you referring to? Sessionwire itself? That's www.sessionwire.com. The templates are hosted at support.sessionwire.com. Let me know which one you mean. If you need a hand kind of finding those things, more than happy to help. Go to www.sessionwire.com. It points to everything. You can find whatever you need there. Here we go. Reason. I wonder if this is worth having up here. I'm waving my hands around and yeah, there we go. I don't feel like, yeah, both. Good. www.sessionwire.com, Dayton. Head there. You'll find everything that you need. Sign up for your account, download the app. Then you can head to the support site from there, find the templates that you need. Okay. Here we are in Reason. So there are a couple of different views here. There's a sequencer view, which is, similar to most DAWs. It's great for MIDI programming, things of that nature. We're not really going to touch on that. I'm basically just using it to play the session. The rack, by far my favorite. Ooh, geez, there goes the gremlin in my audio interface. I got to get a hold of Antelope Audio about that. Okay, so the rack interface is by far my favorite. I love seeing all of these instruments and flipping around to the back. You can see all of the patching that is done to make audio happen. Very cool. And we're going to make use of this in setting up Reason alongside Sessionwire. The mixer over here, also very handy for a couple of things that we're going to do just in terms of monitoring incoming audio and sending that audio out. So there's a couple of ways to do things there. Up here in the rack, if you can see my mouse, I'll get rid of this video here. So up here, we have hardware interface. If you flip to the front, it looks like this. There's this little box that tells you what your active audio driver is. And in my case, I've created an aggregate device. And this is extremely important when using Reason alongside Sessionwire. You have to create an aggregate device. in order to get audio in and out of Reason and use your audio interface to hear the audio coming from Reason as well. To create an aggregate device, you're going to go Spotlight Search, Audio MIDI Setup. So Spotlight Search is Command Space, or the little search magnifying glass in the top right-hand corner of your toolbar, the macOS toolbar. So that opens this window, and at the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to click plus and create aggregate device. And that's going to present this window here. So I'm creating a blank one here, but essentially what you do is you pick the devices that you want to be a part of this aggregate device. This aggregate device is basically a large device built out of smaller devices. So in my case, I have my audio interface selected first, the Orion Studio 3 selected, and then the two SW and from SW drivers are both selected as well. Okay? Plonk Dog, can the incoming video be made bigger in the app? The incoming video, as in this video. There goes my audio interface again. Jeez. Excellent. So the audio coming, the video in the Sessionwire app, you can make this app as big as you want. You can make it smaller. You can make it full screen by clicking the full screen button. It's just like any other video app. It's pretty simple. You can get into it if you want and try it out. www.sessionwire.com. Go sign up, download the app, check it out. Back to the aggregate device. I've selected my hardware audio interface and then the two SW and the from SW drivers. These are the bridges between the DAW and the Sessionwire application. You're welcome, Plant Dog. My pleasure. So, drift correction is also collected or selected for all of these as well. Drift correction basically makes sure that the sample rates between the three devices that I've selected stay aligned. They don't drift from each other. When they drift, that's when you can get audio artifacts like clicking, popping, distortion, that kind of thing. So they're all selected. My pleasure, Plonk Dog. Any more questions, let me know. Okay, so I've got my aggregate device created, and then in Reason, if we go to Reason Preferences, Audio, we're going to select the aggregate device as the audio device. So this is essentially making Reason see all three of the audio interface, the two SW driver, and the from SW driver. And we're going to make sure that our active input channels and active output channels are all turned on by going into this little box for the inputs and going into this little box for the outputs. They're all turned on. Okay? Buffer size, you can set it to whatever you like. I've got it set to 512. You can use whichever you want. Multi-core audio rendering can be used. Hyper-threading audio rendering, I would turn off. I turn hyper-threading off on my machine in general, and it helps with all kinds of audio issues, particularly with Pro Tools. So I would turn that off myself. Monitoring, leave it as automatic. If you can change it if you want. It doesn't really matter in this case. So up here, the hardware interface section, my aggregate device is selected. I'm going to click Audio I/O, and it's going to show all of these inputs, 16 inputs, and all of the 16 outputs. And in my case, I actually have 24 on my hardware device, my hardware interface, plus I've added 4, so we should have 28. So if I click More Audio, it's going to show the rest of these inputs coming in to Reason and the outputs going out from Reason. And if I click Tab on my keyboard, we'll go around back and we see that we can patch things into all of these inputs and outputs. Okay, so here's where things get confusing or can get confusing. Looking at this aggregate device here, the 2SW driver connects to the Sessionwire app right here. Under the Sessionwire logo button, the HQ audio source, the Sessionwire send plugin. The 2SW driver connects to the Sessionwire send plugin. Okay? So if I want to send audio out from Reason to Sessionwire, I need to patch in the audio output of Reason to the 2SW driver in this aggregate device, which is 25 and 26. Channels 25 and 26. 2SW, 25, 26. So if I send audio into that driver from Reason, it comes out of that driver and goes into Sessionwire via this selection right here. Okay, so in Reason, what I've been doing is I will select right here the control room out, which is this little knob in the mixer. This little knob allows you to send a different volume of the overall mix of your session to wherever you'd like. So I'm going to create a patch from the left and right out of the control room out in the master section to 25 and 26. That's going to be output 25 and 26. Okay, makes sense. There we go. Now if I hit play in Reason, we should see the audio show up in this HQ audio meter in Sessionwire. Okay. So you can see that audio bouncing there, and you can probably hear it over the stream as well. Audio is successfully going out to Sessionwire through this control room out control here. And you notice if I slide this volume fader, this master fader up here, the level of the HQ audio going to Sessionwire changes as well. Pardon me. So something to be aware of, you probably want to make sure that your master level is at 0 dB all the time. This is just general mix practice anyways. It should stay at unity. And all of your mixing happens on these other faders and your subgroups using compression and volume and things like that to kind of get everything to sit in a certain place. Okay, sidechain compression, parallel compression, all that kind of stuff will get your mix loud enough so that you don't have to turn it up and it won't be too loud or so loud that you have to bring it down, right? So just make sure your gain staging and everything is good and you're set. If you need to attenuate it a little bit for the person on the other side, you notice that the signal going into the HQ stream is quite hot. This is a hot mix. It's loud. Right, so we're RMS. Our RMS is somewhere around, or our VU is somewhere around 0, which is, that's unity, right? So our peak is definitely up at around 0, and it could be clipping. I don't know what this mix is doing. So if you want to attenuate it a little bit, we'll bring it back 2 or 3 dB, and then we play it again. And it's definitely not hitting the top of the meter in Sessionwire. So there we go. We're sending our audio out of Reason to Sessionwire to whoever's on the other side of the call, as long as they have their HQ audio destination here set to something that they can hear the audio from. They'll hear it without having to set anything up on their side of the call. Sessionwire defaults this way. It'll pick your system hardware output as the default, just like a Zoom call. So you should be able to hear whatever's coming to you without changing things. If we wanted to bring audio into Reason from the remote side, now this is something that I haven't really done a lot of testing through, so we're going to kind of work through this together. And again, my working knowledge of Reason is like, you know, pretty small. I'm going to get Dan to play some audio. You're going to hear it, but it's because it's coming straight out of the app, going straight to my hardware device. It's not going into Reason yet. So here we'll play some audio. Perfect. Hear it just great. It's coming out of my hardware device because I've selected the HQ audio destination of the app as my audio interface. I'm going to try to bring that into Reason now. So this right here, this audio input going into the sampling input, the sampling input is what I'm going to use to monitor this audio coming into Reason, I believe. Again, working knowledge of Reason is like, you know, completely different than if I was using Pro Tools. So we're going to drag these over here just so we get some more timeline. I'm going to play, there we go. We got nothing over here. I'm going to create a track. Create an audio track. Good. Where did that? Okay. I'm going to unarm that so I don't have to listen to my voice through there yet. On the back of the audio I/O channel, sorry, rack unit. I'm going to get rid of these patches. I don't want these patches coming from audio input 1 and 2. I'm going to have them come in from audio input 27 and 28. That is because in this aggregate device, the from SW driver is channels 27 and 28, and the from SW driver corresponds to the Sessionwire receive plugin. So I'm going to change my HQ audio destination to the Sessionwire receive plugin, which means it's pointing the audio towards this from SW driver. The audio is going to go from the Sessionwire app through the from SW driver and then appear in here on channels 27 and 28. So I'm going to bring those into the sampling input, which means that this audio track, if I'm not mistaken, let's see what it says here. Parallel dynamics, yeah, it's all good. Direct out, audio output, it's going to the master section. That's cool. I think that, yeah, that's fine. Flip around to the front here. It's showing that the input should be stereo. And I'm going to change the input to, actually, I'll just change it to input 2728. That should actually do the trick. So if I record arm this, I'm not seeing my voice show up there anymore. If I have Dan play some audio, we'll see it show up here. So this patching in the back here that I did for the sampling input actually isn't needed. I'm going to get rid of that. And we should just hear this audio show up here. I'm going to label this Sessionwire receive. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so you probably heard an issue. You probably heard it doubled. That's because I'm getting that audio from Dan into Reason, and I'm bouncing it straight back out to him through this control room output, which isn't good. So I'm going to try, oops, geez, a little sensitive here. I'm going to try to create a new output bus. This output bus, this might not work. No, it's not going to work that way. So Reason doesn't work the way that I want it to work. We actually have to, yes, I want to delete that. We actually have to disable the routing or turn down all the way the control room out in order to not set up that feedback loop. So now if Dan plays it, I'll hear it show up in here, but it won't bounce it out through the control room out back through Sessionwire to the other side of the call. Okay, there we go. That's routing audio in and out of Reason. I see there's a few more viewers in here. Where are you from? Tell me where you're from. Tell me your name. Great to see different people in the stream. If you have questions, please fire them at me. This stream is not going to last much longer. It's meant to be very short. It will live forever on our YouTube and Facebook channels if you want to go back and revisit how I've kind of set things up with Reason. There are, of course, other ways to do what I've just done. For example, let's see if we can check this out. I'm going to get rid of this rack unit that I've just created and its associated audio track. If I just wanted to listen to the incoming audio coming into Reason, I'm going to do some patching in the back here again, just because it's fun. This 27 and 28, this input 27, 28, I'm going to route it into the FX return 8. So if Dan plays audio, I should see it show up right here on this audio FX return, Sessionwire receive. Sorry, receive. And we'll see some signal show up here, I think. Let's see what happens. Awesome. That showed up right where it was supposed to, right here. So you could adjust the level of it if you wanted. The same thing goes with sending audio out. I'm going to get rid of this receive routing here again. Get rid of that. I'm going to just get rid of this name. So that's blank again. If I wanted to send out a custom mix of what I've got going on here, you didn't see it recording. Oh, yeah. So sorry, recording in Reason. I will do that really quick. So jumping back to how I'd done it originally, I'd created an audio track. I can see my voice. That's not good. So we're going to go into our rack here, this audio track here. This is Sessionwire receive. I'll flip around to the front. I've got to expand it here. Aggregate device input 1. We're going to change this to stereo, and we're going to change it to 27 and 28. There we go. Plonk Dog's got a good question. Is Sessionwire passing audio P2P and the Sessionwire server just makes the connect? That is correct. There is no server between the two computers once they've connected. It's a P2P call. It's very secure. It's very fast. If we notice right here, I'm on a local network, but the round trip time between my two computers is 1 millisecond. That's the network round trip time, not including buffer sizes and all that stuff. So hopefully that answers your questions. Fatso, here we go. We're going to record audio into the timeline here. So audio monitoring and input armed. And I've got my cursor here, my scroller. The name is escaping me. The input of this track is set to 2728, which if we go back to our aggregate device that we've selected, 2728 is the from SW driver, which is bringing audio from Sessionwire into the DAW here. If I hit record, file is read-only. Copy of the song. Oh, sure. Save as, because it's a demo. Let's see here. I want to save it to my desktop. Copy. There we go. So now I'm going to try and record. I can hear the metronome. Good. So there's the timeline. Let's see if I can get my shortcuts figured out here. Nope. Zoom in a little bit. And Dan's going to play some audio, and we should see the waveform show up here. There we go. Showed up just as we expected, and that is because this right here, this rack unit that I've created, this track, its input is set to the from SW of this from SW driver of that aggregate device that I created at the very beginning of the video. Okay? This is great. We're recording audio. If I wanted to play that back out, all I would do is hit play, and because it's going through the master section, and I've got my control room set up, or it was. I might have to repatch that, actually. Go back over here. Yes. The control room output is patched to 25 and 26 of the aggregate device, which goes to the send plugin of the Sessionwire app. If I hit play in Reason, we'll see the signal show up in my meters in Sessionwire here. There we go. Sending and receiving audio from Reason. You have to use an aggregate device, and that is simply because Propellerhead does not support any of the new plugin formats. VST and VST2 are all of the plugin formats that they support, but VST2 was phased out in 2018, and developers cannot get licenses to develop those plugins anymore, so we haven't been able to develop VST2 plugins for that reason. So if you want to use the plugins with Reason, you can use Reason as a plugin in another DAW like Reaper. So you would open Reaper, instantiate Reason inside Reaper as a plugin, and then use the Sessionwire plugins alongside Reason in that session. It's up to you. That is it for this video. If anybody has any more questions, I'm going to stay live for another couple minutes. Happy to answer some questions if they come in. If you haven't signed up for your free account, please do, www.sessionwire.com. You can reach out to us through the support site, support.sessionwire.com. There's a little chat bubble at the bottom right-hand corner. More than happy to set up a test call with you if you download and install Sessionwire and you want to, a bit of the white glove treatment getting set up with Reason or your other DAWs. Give me a shout. Send me a message. Hey, I need some help. We'll get you going. Not a problem. If that's it for questions for today, we're going to call it there. Thanks for joining me on another Sessionwire live demo. Next week, I'm in the middle of planning what's happening. Next week, what are we doing? Next week is going to be a live Q&A. Pretty simple. I'm going to be sitting here doing some work. I'm going to be maybe doing some drum editing or something like that, some mixing. Do some Q&A about Sessionwire. So please join. It can have anything to do with Sessionwire or mixing or plugins or production or drums, engineering, whatever you'd like. Bring your questions. It's a great hang. Plonk Dog's got a question here. With Pro Tools or Logic Pro X, do you need to use a MIDI or is it, or it's all, audio MIDI, yeah, or it's all plug-in in the app? Pro Tools and Logic Pro, all plugins. All plugins in the app, no aggregate device needed. Reason is the only DAW that you need to use an aggregate device with, and it's simply because Propellerhead hasn't developed the support for VST3 or audio units plugins yet. We were hoping that it was going to come in January. They had a big announcement about VST3 support, but it was just about using the Reason VST3 version in another DAW, unfortunately. So send them an email, put the pressure on. I'm sure they're hard on it right now. That's a tough development, building an app for the different plugins. Hopefully that answers your question. We do host videos about setting up Pro Tools and Pro Tools and Logic Pro on our YouTube channel. So go check out our YouTube channel some more. You'll find the old live streams for Pro Tools, Logic Pro, Reaper, Studio One, Ableton. They're all up there. Go check them out. And again, feel free to send me a message, send me an email, support@sessionwire.com. Happy to chat. Thank you again for joining. Next week, live Q&A. Pretty informal, pretty chill. It'll be about a half hour long. Hope to see you there. Cheers, everyone.